Hello everyone, welcome back to the X-Plane versus Flight Sim comparison series. Hope you guys had a decent week and looking forward to a good weekend. We're on episode 4, I believe, and today we're going to be doing a little bit more of a lengthy video. We're going to be taking a look at flight planning and the UI for each sim, pros and cons of each, just as before. And what goes into those, because obviously that's going to be a large part of your simulator experience is flight planning. We're on the main X-Plane dashboard here, and we're going to go ahead and set up a new flight. And it is worth noting you can actually do this from your current flight. That's the one, I guess, kind of pro that that X-Plane has over Flight Sim. So we'll go ahead and grab a G1000 Cessna 172 with default paint. And we're going to go to an airport that I know well. And we'll go ahead and load up over on the south ramp. And we're going to be doing real world weather in real time. We're going to do a cold start and we will begin. And here we are on the ground at Madison. Almost called it a international airport. It's a regional airport. Dane County Regional Airport in Madison, Wisconsin. Yeah, airport I grew up flying out of. Don't get back there very often now, at all really. But neither here nor there. It's the airport that I know the best. The frequencies, the taxiways, and all that stuff. So we're going to use this as an example. Relatively flat, boring airport. So in our 172, if we go back into our cockpit here, we'll go ahead and get some power going. We're having beacon lights, just like before. Fuel pump on, and I was last playing DCS, so I need to make sure all my axes are where they're supposed to be. Arm our box power and clear prop. Right. Here we are, started up. And we'll go ahead and hop over to the VFR map that we've got here. So you can see I've got Madison selected. A few different frequencies we'll test out here. First is going to be the ATC 124.65 to grab our weather. So back over to X-Plane we go. And we'll dial that. Actually, you can see I've got it dialed in COM2 already. So do that. And, oh no, we're receiving already on COM2. So we'll do COM2.
Visibility more than 10 miles.
Yep.
Sky conditions few at 1,400.
I'll pull up the ATC window as well.
13,000. Temperature 20. Dew point 15. Altimeter 3016. Advise on initial contact you have. Information kilo.
There's information kilo. We'll let it repeat. And we should get a text readout over here as well.
Medicine information kilo 2100 Zulu. Arriving runway 18. Departing runway 18. Weather, wind light and variable. Visibility more than 10 miles. Sky conditions few at 1,400. Few at 13,000. Temperature 20. Dew point 15. Altimeter 3016. Advise on initial contact you have. Information kilo.
Alright, so that's information kilo. Next, we'll dial in ground, which is going to be .9er, so 121.9er. And it's kind of a null thing with modern sims nowadays, but it is always good to check that your frequencies are up to date. So, you know, sometimes on aircraft you'll see nav data out of date, that sort of thing. There are templates and charts you can download through third-party extensions, but I don't think I've had an issue. They don't change that frequently. At least at smaller airports, they don't change that frequently. So I have never had an issue, I think even going back to FSX. It's not really a thing that you have to consider nowadays. So back over on our comm menu, we've got our ground frequency dialed. We'll do a radio check. And I actually have our pilot voice disabled so I can do callbacks on my own.
72 Sierra Papa. Reading loud and clear.
Very good. So there is our radio check done. Now let's go into flight planning. You actually have to load up your flight initially. And this is going to be your flight plan. So you've got your N number there, your aircraft ID, whatever that be. It doesn't have to be an N number. It could be your G number if you're flying in the UK, let's say. Aircraft manufacturer, a lot of this autofills, so Cessna 172. No airline applicable and a flight number. And for our flight plan, we'll do Madison, which is KMSN, and we'll fly not too far, just over to Charlie 29er, which is Middleton Munmorey. And we'll do an en-route altitude of, we're going to be going west, so 3,500. No special airways or anything like that. We'll go ahead and file. And I'm actually going to go direct Charlie 29er on our FMS. I have noticed when you do a new flight plan, it does seem, an X-plane at least, to automatically put you on the kilo identifiers. At least when I'm flying in the States, that's where I've done most of my flying. I've done a little bit globally. So there's that. We'll do a nav hold. And we'll do a vertical speed. We'll try 1,000 feet. I don't know if that's going to work for us. G1000 suite's pretty standardized. Neither here nor there. Some of you guys got really mad because I said the default flight sim panel was worse than this, which I still stand by. There's free mods that you can download. They're in the, I guess they got bought by Asobo recently, maybe a little while ago. I don't know, but either way, it's something that you'll have to actually go and download that bring the G1000 up to maybe slightly better, and it depends on who you ask, to what X-Plane has to offer out of the box. I think they're both adequate for your basic VFR and most IFR conditions. So, transponder set to ground. We do have a ground option. I don't think that's available in the flight sim variants. How often are you going to use it? Probably not. You might just select it to on. PFD, you've got all your standard settings. I like wind option 3. Obviously, we don't have any wind data. Your DME, so if you had, I already have 108.6, which is the VOR frequency for Madison. You can see right here. Already got that dialed, so we can see that we're 7/10 of a nautical mile away from the Madison VOR, which is actually right there. So I don't know how that's 7/10 of a mile, but whatever. Not gonna worry about it. On the PFD side, you've got all your basic G1000 functions, traffic, topography, terrain, airways, and NextRad. I do like the NextRad rendering a little bit more on X-Plane. Having said that, and actually flown in a G1000 with NextRad, the rendering on Flight Sim is more accurate, hands down. You get nice little curtains like this, which almost look like radar returns, which I understand NextRad is not an actual radar, but it's taking radar data and beaming it to your airplane. It's, I don't know. I think it looks a little bit better in Flight Sim. Again, these are all just my opinions. Stuck in a loading screen there. We're not going to do a whole bunch of stuff. But you can see I've got my DME, and then I can load my GPS nav, and I can set my bearing 2 to, let's do GPS there, and then we'll set bearing 1. Will be our nav 1 source, which is the same as our DME. You can reset to your defaults. I don't ever use alternate units, and if I wanted to reset my barometric altitude to 2992, I could do that there. I was just in there. The inset menu here, you can declutter it down up to 3 times. So you can clean that up a little bit. Again, you can do traffic, topography, turn that on or off. Look at your terrain warning, so if you're flying in, mountainous or hilly areas. You can also have NextRad up on there. Also, you can turn that guy on and off. OBS, I believe, has to do... actually, to be totally honest with you, I never used it. We always just hand flew. That and CDI. I know this will switch your nav source between your nav 1 and 2 and then your GPS. And then obviously DME, and spotter, we just looked at those. So that is the basic avionics of the old 172 kind of covered. I'm not going to go into every single airplane. We're just going to look at the 172, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and gets that to taxi here, we'll go ahead and call up the ground for a VFR departure, and we'll see what they do, because there's this whole area over here is the 115th fighter wings area, and then there's a helicopter wing over that way, so you actually, as a civ, can't taxi along a large portion of airport. In fact, if I pull up the AFD and zoom in, I can show you what I'm talking about. So we're roughly right here. This whole area, this whole taxiway, I think this taxiway, all of this you can't use. So realistically, what the controller would do in the real world is have us taxi down here onto runway 321 and either cross 1836 here or back taxi on 36 up to 18. Doesn't really make a difference, but that's neither here nor there. Let's see what the controller actually does. So we'll call VFR departure, and we're departing to the east? West, I'm stupid. West, please. And it'll be Madison Ground, Cessna 172 Sierra Papa, request west departure.
2 Sierra Papa, runway 18, taxi via Delta, Bravo 303, Charlie, Alpha, and Alpha 1. Hold short of runway 18.
Alright, and there we'll read that back, and then by default the sim actually draws you a line, very similar to the line that you got in older sims. It's very not subtle. I'm not a huge fan of gigantic progressive taxi lines. If I'm unfamiliar with a airport, there is a FlightSim.to mod that I installed, well, recently uninstalled thanks to GSX, but I'm not a huge fan of these gigantic lines. I understand why they exist, especially for folks newer to flight sim flying, but good gracious, I mean, it's effective, it's direct, I suppose. So let's hop in, turn off our park brake, turn on our taxi lights, and give a little bit of power to come out of here. The other aspect of X-Plane that I do like, and I would assume this would vary from airport to airport. I've been at airports where it does apply, and I've been to airports where it doesn't, is switching to the tower once you're on an active runway, or any runway surface. Some airports will have you do it, some won't. Sometimes it's just down to the controller. You know, if you're at a small airport and you're the only airplane in the pattern, they'll just have you stick with him on the tower frequency, or sometimes it's the same guy doing the same job, or two people sitting right next to each other. So he'll just have you stick on the tower frequency with him, or he'll have you switch to ground, or you'll go back and forth. So here we're coming up to runway 3.21. We'll see what the controller wants us to do. This isn't currently the active runway. It is a runway nonetheless. There's the hold short lines. We're gonna cross. I've still got my little fancy yellow arrow. Because our controller did not tell us to hold short of runway 321. Our instructions are to hold short of 18. So we're gonna continue onto the active. Landing lights and strobes for safety. I do apologize for breaking this into a cross weekends here, as I kind of wanted to get this all done by the end of this week, but that's obviously not going to happen. I had a huge issue with Windows just deciding that my microphone was going to sound like garbled static, so I broke out one of my old mixers, and it is the most convoluted setup you've ever seen in your life. I've got an XLR for my mic, going to my mixer, and my mixer has a 3.5mm audio out going to the mic jack on the back of my computer. I hate it, you hate it. What can you do? So you can see we've got now active runway light markers alternating back and forth, letting us know, hey, you're coming up to an active. So let's see. Oh, let's get the airplane under control.
2 Sierra Papa, contact Madison Tower 119.30.
Around 119.3, Cessna 2 Sierra Papa. So we'll go 119.3. And we'll call the tower.
Sierra Papa, cross runway 18.
And we'll cross runway 18, Cessna 2 Sierra Papa. The other thing that's kind of interesting, so I do like the added in abbreviation factor in X-Plane, but it's not done correctly. Per the FAA, FARs, the Federal Aircraft Regulations, Aviation Regulations, I don't know what FAR stands for, but the CFRs say that you as the pilot or the operator of an aircraft cannot shorten your tail number until the controller does. So if you remember on our initial contact, our text-to-speech, which I had turned down, but I promise you, and if you read the text, it said, Madison Ground 2 Sierra Papa, request taxi to the active, or whatever he said, right? It would always be Cessna 172 Sierra Papa until the controller calls back, Cessna 2 Sierra Papa, you know, clear taxi to runway 18 via whatever. So...
2 Sierra Papa, squawk 3200, fly heading 180, wind light and variable, runway 18, cleared for takeoff.
Squawking 3200, flyer heading 180, clear for takeoff, runway 18. So that's a 2 Sierra Papa. And we'll go transponder altitude encoding. Landing lights and taxi lights back on. We're obviously skipping the run-up today. Normally you would do a run-up before setting off. Controls, free and correct. I do really like the added bob you get from operating your controls. Alright, a short hop over to Middleton Monmouth. We'll do the takeoff, and I will catch you guys once we are in the air. Alright, airborne now. I think Madison departure is 13545, so we'll pre-dial that.
Sierra Papa, contact Madison.
120.1.
120.10.
I see you. Approach on 120.1, Cessna 2 Sierra Papa. Good day. As I'm properly about to crash our airplane, let's go autopilot on for now. And we'll keep heading 180 for the time being, and we'll switch to our Charlie 29er in just a second. 120.1. And yeah, you can see right there, we're on a new frequency now, so we should be addressing as 172 Sierra Papa.
172 Sierra Papa, squawk 3200, altimeter 3016, flight following.
Squawking 3200, altimeter 3016, Cessna 172 Sierra Papa. And the other thing that's nice is it gives you an indication which comm you're on. So before, when we were all on comm 1, then it switches us to comm 2. So now, if I want to go land at Maury, I obviously need to tell the controller, hey, you know, I'm going to be landing at Maury. I'm going to be leaving your frequency. You can't just leave, which is something that's not fully modeled on Flight Sim. There is obviously that sim, but anyway, so we're going to do a request frequency change to, I don't want any of those. Why is Janesville the next one in the list? What? Why is... Normally I would just do a change to my airport, but that's fine. I think what I'll do is cancel flight following. We're going to be told to squawk 1200, which is fine.
172 Sierra Papa. Flight following cancel. Squawk 1200. Resume on navigation.
On navigation system 172 Sierra Papa. Maybe it's because Maury is uncontrolled, is why I can't switch to that frequency on my own. Let's see here. So we're going to go back to my main. Yeah, so no controller on this frequency. But I promise you, if I go over to my Middleton Maury, the control for Maury is 123.0, which is what I've got loaded on our active. So that's kind of a downside. Looks like for uncontrolled airports, you're not really able to call out up, wind, down, wind, that sort of thing, which is okay, I suppose. The other, I guess, aspect of X-Plane is your traffic model. We'll get into it a little more, but it's really not the best, if I'm being honest. You have the option to load up to 19 different aircraft. And there's a limit to which aircraft can be AI controlled. So, like, let's say you download and install the, I don't know, let's say PMDG gets a 737 out for X-Plane all of a sudden. You can't have the AI fly that aircraft. It's too complex, right? So you really kind of have to stick with what you're given. And I mean, there's a decent selection of airplanes. Like I said, we'll look through all this. The one, I guess, pro side is there are actual weapons model in X-Plane. So if you wanted to fly combat, you could. But if you're going to do that, I would recommend spending, you know, relatively a few extra dollars and getting DCS. But I don't know. There was a user who commented on one of the videos in this series that I did, and I'll try and find the comment and pull it. And I think he summed up X-Plane versus Flight Sim pretty well in accordance with what I kind of think about it. But we'll get to that later once we do final thoughts and conclusions. I think that'll be the next and final video in this series, just an overall look at each sim, what each has to offer. Boy, we're high and fast. I guess we'll do some pattern work. Oh, it would also help if I wasn't toggling my taxi light, but yeah, we'll do some pattern work. This is Middleton Maury Airport. There's actually, if I come out to the right here a little bit, it's actually 4 runway surfaces. You can see down there where that taxiway looks like it disappears. That's actually a grass strip. In my years of living in and around Madison, I don't think I've ever seen an airplane land on that grass strip. They always have done the paved surface. That's not to say no one uses it. I just personally have not seen it. Overfly what's supposed to be the Kiva Center. Not really sure what's going on with the, that's supposed to be snow. Yeah, it was like 70-something degrees today. There's no snow. Not yet. Not yet. Right, nice steep turn going. Trying to stay coordinated. We'll roll off the power. Come in, we're a nice level off. A little bit late. Okay, plenty of runway for this airplane. Nothing like a good old unstable approach in a 172, am I right? And a heavy, heavy touchdown. Alright, brakes coming on. Do the toe brake dance. As we come off of the active, and then we'll go ahead and park up and we'll take a look at the more detailed side of the UI, basically what you have for adding on traffic, because as of right now all of the videos that I've shot have been without traffic in full X-Plane. I've done some off video testing, and it does seem like X-Plane does get hampered right around as much, maybe a little bit more than Flight Sim does with its real-world traffic. I say that. Real-world traffic via AIG, which again is a mod. The real-world traffic still had a pretty negative effect. When I say pretty negative, I'm talking 5 frames a second or less, depending on your processor. Now, again, I have a slightly higher end processor, I guess you could call it. It's a i9 10900. I don't remember what the processor is. It's not the 12900K. I know that much because that was like an extra $300. So, all right, so let's take a look at the flight configuration menu. Again, that's the one positive that Flight Sim does, or that X-Plane does have over Flight Sim, is you can change it right here in the simulator. It's, you know, you don't have to go back to a main menu or anything like that. Now, granted, the main menu doesn't take long, but anyway. So we looked at already our options for starting. There's a few more in the smaller airports and maybe even the larger airports compared to Flight Sims like Dane County Regional will compare, but from what I remember, you basically have the gates over here, a couple spots here, a couple freight parking spots, and like one spot over here by Wisconsin Aviation. Or it actually might be over at the corporate hangars, and that's it. I don't want to base this all off of one airport. I think that's stupid, so we won't do that, but something to consider. For traffic, this is your traffic menu. It's called AI Aircraft. You can add up to 19 aircraft, so 20 aircraft total in your session. And you can set different aircraft types with different liveries, except for the aircraft that you're flying. So let's say I want to do a MD-82. What? I'm not flying an MD. Oh, it's because I changed it. Hold on. 172. AI aircraft. So let's say I want an MD-82 in Alaska Airlines. Boom. And I want another MD-82 in Delta Airlines. And an A330, and sure, Lufthansa's fine. 737 in Delta, that's cool. And then another 737 in American. That's awesome. Now let's say that I want a 172 in a different livery than what I have. So I can go to this Piper Cub here, change him to a Skyhawk with the G1000. Where are you? Is that not an option? I guess it doesn't make a difference to it, so that's a bad example. Let me go back. And we're going to select the 737, and then we'll go to AI Aircraft. And now this is the menu I was talking about. So you have to have, if there's any same model AI aircraft, you have to use the same livery. So all of the 737s are going to be whatever livery I choose. So in this case, Delta Airlines, if I change them to American, they'll all be American, so on and so forth. You get it. Weather we looked at, time we looked at. Yeah, I'll put it in here. There was I was flying the RV10 over the weekend, just kind of on my own time. There's this weird pop-in thing with the weather, with live weather. So I don't know what's going on with that. I'll throw some clips of it up here. But let's go ahead and hop over to Flight Sim, and we'll load up the same flight, same time, and same real-world weather, and see how that goes for us over there. Alright, and here we are in Flight Simulator's UI for selecting a flight. Obviously the main menu being here. We'll go one deeper into the world map. And I definitely, I mean, there's really no candle to hold here. Flight Sim takes the cake all day as far as flight planning. Having a visual flight planner is, it's quintessential. There's no competition here. You've got the whole world you can encircle. Obviously, all the little white dots are airports. As you zoom in, smaller airports become visible. All the way down in these little tiny farm strips. And as you go out, those disappear, and then the larger airports are visible. These are real-world weather patterns here that you can see overlaid on the map. So, you know, if you wanted to go fly somewhere with poor weather, you know, this part of, I think this is Siberia here, or northern Russia, one of the two, you know, you could go find an airport somewhere in this seemingly barren landscape and go fly. Other thing that's nice is any payware or modded airports, they obviously have this little plug icon, if you will, to let you know what is and isn't modded. So the aeronautical school I studied at here, Lewis University, is modded. I've got an extra texture plan, but if you look at DuPage Airport or Aurora, or even DeKalb, those are all default Asobo scenery. So you can see straight away where your add-on scenery is going to be. And it's the same thing for landmarks. I don't think I have any add-on landmarks. Actually, yes, I do. The TAR system. So down here, this is a U.S. government airborne radar system. It basically looks like a little blimp, and they string it up in the air, and it's got radar to detect whatever it detects. This is an add-on piece of scenery, and I know that because it's got the little plug icon. And then in addition to that, you can also see all of my little areas with a star are areas I think that I haven't visited, which isn't fully accurate, obviously, because I've done tons of videos out of Oshkosh. I've done tons of videos in and around Chicago. Florida, I've done a few videos, but nonetheless, there's no comparison as far as the flight planning. So if we go back to Madison, which I do have a little bit of add-on scenery, but we're not here to compare scenery. So I was a little mistaken. There are some more options over here for parking. You have your normal ramp parking, cargo parking, but there is just that one spot over by the corporate hangars, AmFam, State Farm, whoever has hangars over there now. And then this building here is actually Wisconsin Aviation. So if you were a foreign aircraft flying in, this is where you would park at, but there's no option to depart from there. So we'll do the same departure that I selected before, right over here on the ramp. And you can see we're now greeted with a flight conditions deal, so you can set your multiplayer if you want to play with other players. I detest other players, so we're going to leave that off. Air traffic I currently have off just for the sake of keeping my frames up for the video, but you have the options of live traffic, AI auto-generated, or off, and I actually use off in tandem with in the AIG traffic, Alpha India Group traffic mod. It's great, check it out, but we're not here for that. And then live weather and time is what I'm tracking there. If I wanted to change my weather, I could either do a preset, and I've got a bunch of different presets here that I can select from, or I can do the custom weather that we looked at before. But we're going to do live. And then as far as an aircraft, we have obviously our visual library of aircraft. You know, let's say I want to select the Phoenix A320, then I go into my different libraries for that aircraft. But we're going to load up the default 172, which I reinstalled just for this video series. Where is that? G1000. 2. And we're going to use the default library. I'm pretty sure all of these except for the Kenmore Air that I have installed are third party. So we're going to use the default library. And then as far as actual flight planning, so let's say we wanted to do an IFR flight to Janesville. That was an airport that popped up before. Let's say I want to go to their ramp here. I now have an estimated time en route, or ETE, and I have different options for my flight plan. So I can fly direct VFR, I can fly VOR to VOR, so that would actually be just be MSN to JVL. They both have VOR towers. The time doesn't change too much there. And then if I'm in poor weather, if I'm flying a bigger airplane, commercial airlines always fly IFR, I can select low altitude or high altitude airways. Now, it's a little bit wonky because of my short distance. Let's say I want to fly to Milwaukee. And then you can see it's actually added some fixes to my route, as well as a VOR to capture. And then if I want to go a step further for my IFR, I can, normally I'd be able to select a different departure from direct, and then I can select what runway that I want to land on. So if I want to land on 01 left, we've got wind from 040 right now, which is not too offset from 01 left. Let's say I want to do 07 right, 70 degrees. I can do that. And I don't think I'm going to have, I do have Go Pack 2. So obviously that adds a lot of length to my route, but you can visually see the planned route. And what I usually end up doing is I do use SimBrief from time to time, which again is a mod, but you can actually use this fairly accurately. Maybe do a screen grab of all your fixes, take a look at your navigation log. You can manually set your cruise altitude, otherwise Flight Sim kind of auto picks one for you, and go from there. But we're going to clear that out, and we're going to be flying to 329 on Middleton, Montgomery. We'll go there. And we're going to be flying direct via UPS. Pretty quick, estimated 14-minute flight. Interestingly enough, it looks like they're going to have us take off on 36. We'll see what happens once we load in. And I'll catch you guys once we're fully loaded here. So Flight Sim crashed when I was loading, so we're gonna go ahead and try again. We're gonna go ahead and reload the exact same flight we did before, and try again. All right, and here we are loaded into Flight Sim. Turn off my EMB there. So you can see we've got a nice little brief here. So give us our visibility, time, wind direction, and speed, and our fuel elevation. And then on the next page, we've got our aircraft specs, our max cruise speed, max altitude, our endurance rating, and our available range, 640 nautical miles. That's pretty good for 172. We'll hit ready to fly, and we're going to close GSX because we're not using him today. But nonetheless, let's go ahead, hop inside of the airplane, get started up, and get underway here. Same process as before. We're going to just breeze through it here real quick. Beacon, and we'll do the same thing as before. So we'll go 124.65 for our ATIS.
Madison Airport information, Echo 2200 Zulu. Wind 083 at 8. Visibility 10.
And you can see we've got a readout of the text here, as well as applicable frequencies.
2.10. Altimeter 30.13. ILS runway 36 in use. Landing and departing runway tree. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact you have Echo.
So there's information Echo, so I am recording these back to back. There's no delay between them. I literally quit X-Plane, fired up Flight Sim, and here we are. So a pretty big discrepancy in the altimeter setting. I think we were like 301 something, and X-Plane in here we're 3003. Still an information Echo. That's something to be taken into consideration. Next we'll do the ground. We'll call up the ground. Let's get my tower frequency dialed here. to get my radio set before we start making calls and things start to move here. 120.1. Change. And we will request taxi for a west departure. And there's no option to turn off your pilot voice, so you're going to hear the synthesized voice here.
Madison Ground, Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha with Echo request taxi to the active west departure.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha taxi 2 and hold short of runway tree using taxiway Charlie cross runway tree 2 Alpha Echo cross runway tree 2 Echo Delta. Contact tower on 119er decimal tree when ready.
And we'll go ahead and read back.
Taxi 2 and hold short runway tree via taxiway Charlie cross runway tree 2 Alpha Echo cross runway tree 2 Echo Delta Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
So we're actually going to be taking off runway 3. It's interesting. So the preload had us taking off runway 36. The tower is having us take off runway 3. And I've forgotten our ATIS already. Go ahead and grab that again real
Madison
quick.
Airport information Echo 2200 Zulu. Wind 083 at 8.
083 at 8. So it's almost at 90 degrees, almost a perfect crosswind. So I suppose runway 3 is the best option here. So we will make do with that. Let's go ahead and taxi out here. Let's taxi into runway 3. I can tell you right now, just from my time spent in Flight Sim, we're not going to have any handovers to the tower until we're at the hold short for runway 3. So you can see our little progressive arrow just keeps us going straight through as we're crossing 14.32. So here we are at the hold short for runway 3. There's no prompt from the ground controller to switch frequencies or anything like that. We just kind of have to know that we're here. So we'll go ahead and swap frequencies, and we should have the option for request takeoff clearance. There it is from Madison Tower. So we'll go ahead and select number 3.
Madison Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha ready for west departure at runway tree.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha altimeter tree
so you go.
0.13108 tree at 8.
So there you go, 301.
West departure approved. Cleared for takeoff runway tree.
And we'll read back.
Cleared for takeoff runway tree Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
So it seems like, and we'll take a look, I've got more than half an hour left in the hour for the ATIS here. It seems like the ATIS is just updating off of the current altimeter setting and going from there. Whereas it seems like Flight Sim actually took the actual METAR and decoded it. So I'll give Flight Sim the point for weather reporting. Let's go fly.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha continue for west departure.
Continuing for west departure.
Madison Tower Cessna
whatever our
Alpha
tail
Sierra
number is.
X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha continue for west departure.
And autopilot on. And you can see we've got options here to request additional stuff from the tower, either a touch and go or a full stop. Pretty soon we'll be leaving his airspace and we should get a frequency change. As far as the synthesized voices go, what do you guys think about them? I personally think Flight Sim has a slightly better edge. Obviously Microsoft being the behemoth that they are, they have a lot of speech synthesis technology available for them. I have seen glitches here and there, like in my, I think it was my F35 video. It's happened in a couple videos, but the most recent one is my F35 video. I got the classic ls401.txt or whatever. That's one of my favorites. if you don't have an active frequency
Cessna Golf
dialed.
Sierra Alpha leaving my airspace frequency change approved.
And frequency
Madison
change.
Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha frequency change.
So you can see there our pilot kept the full tail number versus the abbreviated one. The way that this is done is still proper. You can read your full tail number if you'd like. It's kind of courtesy to abbreviate it if you're able to. But technically speaking, this is still a correct version versus talking to a controller with an abbreviated tail number. So we've now changed frequencies, so we have the options to either dial Madison Approach on 13545 for a flight following, or we have this nearest airport list option, which gives us all of our different close airports. So you can see we've got Middleton here, Wanakee, which is just over to our right, and then Madison, where we just departed from. We'll go ahead and I guess we'll call up Madison departure. Why not? Just to demo it. Brain fart there. So we'll do a flight following. Nope, flight following, please.
Madison Approach Cessna
we'll be
Alpha
ready to
Sierra
copy,
X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha is type Cessna Skyhawk 3 miles east of Charlie 29 or 1,900 feet. Request flight following.
So we've got more in the
Cessna Alpha
deal there.
Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha Madison approach. Squawk 6126.
6126.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha radar contact 2 miles east of Charlie 29 or 1,600 feet. Altimeter tree 0.1 tree.
Roger Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
And you can see there he abbreviated. Another thing that's worth noting is I like the radio degradation effects a little bit better in Flight Sim. They are a thing in X-Plane, but I think they do them a little bit better in Flight Sim. And if we wanted to request IFR clearance, we could, but we're going to go ahead and cancel.
Madison Approach Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha. Cancel flight following.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha Madison approach cancellation received. Squawk 1200. Frequency change approved.
And this is my favorite part. We'll call up Maury traffic. And we're going to be landing on runway 28. And a full stop. And we'll call our position, obviously, wherever we
Charlie
had the field
29er
right now.
traffic Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha 1 mile southwest 1,500 feet inbound to land runway 28.
So if you wanted to get your pattern work in Flight Sim's, well, with radio comms, Flight Sim's probably the way to go. I lost the field. Okay, so we're on our downwind. Let's go ahead and call downwind.
Charlie 29er traffic Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha is on downwind runway 28.
Start our base turn in just a second here. I usually like to have, that's a Lexus dealership down there. I like to have that abeam my wing before we turn final, or turn base.
Charlie 29er traffic Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha is on base runway 28.
And just like with X-Plane, if you want, you can move that window. It's okay where it's at now. There's also the option to pop it out. I'm not going to, just like with X-Plane, but I'm not going to do that because in Flight Sim it makes OBS record only that window, and I don't want that. I want you guys to be able to see the landing. And we'll call final.
Charlie 29er traffic Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha is on
Oh
final
boy,
runway
we're high.
28 to land.
That's what I get for not paying attention. Gained almost 200 feet from our 1,500 foot pattern. But again, we're nicely set up here to just kind of float the airplane down the runway. Flaps full, landing lights on, strobe lights on, fuel pumps on. We actually have a little bit of a tailwind, it looks like. Sure what's going on with those trees there. That's, can we make this taxiway? That's a negative, Ghost Rider. So we'll expedite on down here. And it's a similar operation in reverse. If you're taking off, you obviously would call what runway you're taxiing to, just like in the real aviation world. And then you would call your takeoff. And once we cross these hold short lines, we should have the option to announce clear of the runway. Oh, doesn't look like it. Not this time around. Well, that's fine. Normally, there's the option to announce clear the runway, which you would obviously do to let people know that you're down and the runway is open for someone who might be coming in behind you or someone who's on same frequency at a different airport. That happens a lot with smaller airports. They'll actually share a frequency, so you'll hear, you'll be calling for Airport A and someone, a few miles away will be calling for Airport B just because they're very much so not used. But that'll be the end of the flight sim window. We do have the option to toggle between our COM 1 and our COM 2s. So if we were tracking stuff on COM 2, do that there, but obviously we're on COM 1 for most of the flight except for listening to ATC. And we'll go ahead and park up to between this Eurocopter and this I almost called it a Centurion. The Cessna 414. I forgot what the Chancellor. Is it Chancellor? I think it's Chancellor. 414 Chancellor. That sounds right. Close there. Very close. Well, it's probably not where I'm supposed to park, but it's where we're going to park. Alright, park brake on, taxi light off. Transponder can go to standby. And fuel pump can come off. And mixture. So that is a quick look at the ATC, as well as the UIs. The one thing you can change on the fly, like we looked at before in Flight Sim, are your weather and time conditions, your fuel and balance, your weight and balance, so you can change fuel, weight settings. You can do that all on the fly. But if you want to change locations or anything like that, you do have to go back to the main menu. Overall, I think Flight Sim kind of takes the cake in this realm. There's really no beating that visual map for your flight planning. For me personally, it'd be very difficult to go back. Obviously, I want to do this as objectively as possible. There's pros and cons to both. Which do you prefer? Let me know in the comments below. Some of you have been very vocal as to what you think, and hey, that's appreciated, whether you agree with me or not. But that's going to do it for episode 4. Next time around, I think we'll kind of sum everything up and determine which of these two is going to be best for what end user. That'll do it for me this time around, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you in the next one. As always, take it easy.